Well, speaking of like say on the storylines that have been depicted at the moment, what Marvel or DC storylines that you've read in the comics that you want uh, adopted, adapted rather?
Mhm. Um, well, one thing that I would really like would be, first of all, I would like more animated films.
Sure.
'Cause I feel like a lot, like we discussed, animation provides more potential for
Mm,
some very beautiful, some very tone accurate
mm,
depictions of some stuff, some of the wackier parts of some
yeah.
comics. So I feel like for some stories, it would mesh better with the story.
Yeah.
Um, that being said, I would like maybe an adaptation of um, it's a very recent series. There's this thing called Sex Criminals
Okay.
by author Chip Zdarsky, and that is a very good series. It's
Okay.
very strange. I
What's it
don't.
about?
So it's about people who get superpowers when they have sexual intercourse.
Makes sense. It's called STDs.
Something like that.
Well, it's the STPs,
Yeah,
sexually transmitted powers.
the main characters can stop time, I believe, when they stop time when
When the climax.
they climax.
That's
Yeah,
nice. That's really nice.
so that it's cool though.
That's
It has
really
a
cool.
lot of very fun characters. I really like it.
That
Another
could actually be an actual thing. You know, that's the worst part. I wouldn't be surprised if it pops out on Netflix one day.
I I feel like one day someone's gonna want that adapted. It's just that I feel like the tone would be similar to Sex Ed.
Yeah, but it would be very comical. It would be very like it's a much different. Like it's like a sort of like the boys type of sex ed.
Right,
You know,
right.
it's very much like
Yeah,
a dark humor type thing. You know.
yeah. Um, Another work that I would love to have adapted, since I mentioned Chip Zdarsky, he also wrote a Spider-Man comic called Spider-Man Life Story.
Okay.
And that is a mini series which shows you from his youth, from Peter Parker at 15 years old till basically his late 70s, 80s.
Oh,
Because
really?
it shifts from decade to decade in his life. So it
Nice.
goes from the beginning to the end of his life,
Oh, that'd be nice.
all in one story. And it's a very, very good book. I highly recommend it.
It's kind of like Boyhood.
Yeah, yeah, it very much is. And it has a lot of really beautiful moments that hit hard if you're a fan of the character, if you follow that series. It's very self-contained.
Yeah.
So it pays tribute to the history of the character, because basically the premise is that it's in 6 chapters or
Okay.
issues,
Sure.
and each is a representation of a decade of publication of the Spider-Man comic, right? So the
Oh,
first
okay. Yeah. It's
is
a direct homage.
yeah, the first chapter is an encapsulation of the 60s, then the 70s,
Mm,
80s, 90s, 2000s, and then it ends with the 2010s.
yeah.
So it has basically it's like a big resume
Yeah. It's a
of
very
his
big
entire
rundown.
history.
Yeah, that's nice.
You could just read that one comic, and you basically have an approximation of his entire history in the
Yeah,
comics.
nice.
It's really good.
That'd be cool.
It's surprising how effective it is. So I would
Animated, definitely. Animated, definitely.
yeah, I feel like animation could do that justice, because
Yeah.
parts of it are very much period pieces, because since they choose to have it take place in the 60s,
Yeah.
it starts during Vietnam War.
Oh, okay. That's
So
interesting.
it's also a period piece
Nice, nice.
until present day.
You hear that, Marvel? You want this? The people want this. The people have spoken.
Yes, the people have spoken. I would
I,
love that.
what I would want to see though is Rune King Thor, like
Ooh.
like a Logan, but like sort of like
Mm,
Thor becoming finally, because we started off with Thor being the arrogant kid that has like everything, and then
right.
ultimately he learns to be more humble. Now we have the more comical sort of we found we found in Ragnarok the Thor that's sort of like finally understands his powers and like sort of like
Right. Self-discovery.
self-discovery, yeah. And then we have the Infinity War Endgame Thors, where we have sort of the peak physique, and then post depression of like even at his peak he lost. Sort of
Right.
like now it's sort of like the new sort of the retribution phase of Thor
Yeah.
with I think Love and Thunder will sort of like be that. But
Yeah.
eventually I want like, because we had Cap's ending was perfect, Iron Man's ending was perfect as well. Thor's ending would be so interesting to have him become king, but not in like a traditional way where he sits down on the throne and becomes ruler of Asgard, but actually
Right.
becomes like sort of like
The
the all
cosmic.
father, yeah, the all
Yeah.
father, you know. And so
Yeah.
it'd be quite interesting to see him like sort of go through one more trial, one intense trial where he has to sort of basically become his father and actually sort of pass down his I guess his powers or his sort of like stature to the next generation of
Right.
Asgardians. It'd be quite
Yeah.
interesting to have him like, you know.
I feel like eventually that is also a story that I'm sure someone wants to tell and that is going to be told
Yeah.
eventually. Um, if it's not Hemsworth himself, I'm sure someone involved is interested in telling that story.
Oh, imagine Hopkins plays him. It'd be crazy.
Hopkins,
Yeah, Anthony Hopkins
that
plays
would be really
old,
fun.
old man Thor.
I would like that.
Oh my god. But yeah, that and also like, you know, an interesting version of like the Fantastic Four, like a
Mm,
because we never had a good Fantastic Four film, and I wanted like
agreed.
a really like I'm guessing they're gonna make one, and sort of that's why they're sort of building up to it to make it sort of
Yeah.
more, you know, kind of like a different sort of story. But I really want sort of like an actual sort of what people want to see as the Fantastic Four, Victor Von Doom type of characters, and that's why I sort of like, you know, I'm excited for like those films to come out and sort of seeing like an actual like accurate depiction of Victor
Right.
Von Doom, and
Yes.
you know,
That would be awesome. I'm sure that out there there's someone who who has that
drive,
tinge
yeah,
for the Fantastic Four. The thing is, the Fantastic Four have this kind of position as kind of the originators of the new wave of Stan Lee
mm,
written characters.
yeah,
So they're kind of like supposed to be kind of the baseline of the
yeah,
universe in a sense. That they would
yeah,
kind of occupy the position that Tony Stark occupies for the MCU.
yeah, their
So
foundations. Yeah.
integrating them is a challenge.
Well, now's the perfect time because it's a new phase. So Tony
Yeah.
Stark's gone.
Well, yeah, with a clean slate, it's a good time to have them basically be like the forerunners
Yeah,
of this new setting in a sense.
that's why it'd be quite interesting to have him like sort of, if not the current like the Fantastic Four, we have like, you know, there's right now we have the One Divisions and the Falcon and Winter Soldier stories, but it'd be quite interesting to have sort of like cut to a completely random perspective, right? We have like the perspective of the people from New York, like four random kids or random like professors, you know, like we have Reed Richards casual is like teaching a physics class or some shit, and then you know everyone started turning to dust, and he's like, oh shit, what the fuck's going on? And then
Right,
like sort of that's when he sort of creates the power, like the generator, to sort of like be like, okay, we will protect the world next time. And sort of
right,
the Fantastic Four, instead of becoming the beginning, there's sort of like the pickup after the beginning. You know, it's kind of like
right,
a reaction. I'm like, okay, you know what, we need to sort of find a new way to sort of discover. You know, we discover new, you know, new forms of life and try to like amass friends or whatever, allies and shit. Granted, they made it with you know Carol Danvers and the was it Captain Marvel there, but having sort of an interesting four that have completely like they're completely detached from the MCU characters that we know right now,
right.
have their own like sort of like little venture, and then have them sort of in the end tied together, kind of like the Guardians of the Galaxy, but this time it's sort of the Fantastic Four.
Right. I,
Yeah.
I feel like that's a difficult one
Mm.
to get right
Well, yeah, it is.
because they've got like such a big history and a lot of people's favorite characters aren't the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
because they're more of a niche now. They're kind of like the, you know, the forebearers, but it's
Unless they bring back Chris Evans as a Human Torch, and then they make Hemsworth Reed Richards, or the Thing.
the, the casting too. That's something they need to nail right, which they
Yeah.
never have.
Downey as Reed Richards. Oh, that'd be hilarious.
That would
And
be
it's Scarlett Johansson what's her name? Fucking Susan
Stu.
Storm. Yeah,
Oh no!
it's like the OGs.
Oh no!
And that'd be hilarious. That would be actually hilarious.
Oh man!
I want Deadpool to do that.
Oh yeah, Deadpool. That's also a thing that we'll be seeing again soon, I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
but yeah, I think those interesting stories, those storylines, I'm interested in seeing, like either film wise or animated wise. Be
right.
quite interesting, sort of. Because granted, now super comics are cool now, because back
Yeah,
then,
now they're cool. Now they're all the rage.
when you mention comic book, it's like, oh my god, you're so cool. Back then, it'd be like, yo, you're such a nerd.
Yeah, back then you'd get like pushed into a locker.
Yeah, same thing with mangas. Like mangas, like, yo, what is wrong with you, man? You fucking reading mangas? Now it's like, yo, man, Dragon Ball Z. What?
Now your bully reads mangas.
Bro, not you bully the person who doesn't read manga.